This is ABC News.
Ladies, are any of these symptoms familiar? Hot flashes, sleeplessness, irritability, or weight gain? If you're a woman over 40 experiencing these symptoms, you probably have hormonal imbalance. Ambren can help you balance hormones and relieve your hot flashes, sleeplessness, irritability, and other symptoms of menopause. And now you can finally lose weight. Yes, even that stubborn body fat with Ambren weight loss. Call now and ask how you can get your free sample of Ambren weight loss. Call 1-800-424-8740. That's 1-800-424-8740.
I'm Dave Packer. ABC News.
The law offices of Rominger and Associates are here to fight for you. For over 10 years, we've been serving central Pennsylvania and its surrounding counties. We handle all kinds of cases, including family law, criminal law, and personal injury. Need to get a hold of us during the week? Dial 241-6070 or go to romingerlaw.com. That's 241-6070 or Rominger, R-O-M-I-N-G-E-R, law.com. Join me, Attorney Karl Rominger, host of Weekend Appointment every Saturday at 8 a.m., where I will discuss everything from family law, criminal law, and even personal injury. So tune in and make it your weekend appointment every Saturday at 8 a.m. on WIOO Country Gold Radio.
It's the most savingest time of the year.
Carlisle Electronics and Appliance Center wants your holiday dollars to go further. Save 10 to 40% store-wide throughout December. Carlisle Electronics and Appliance Center has the full line of top-brand energy-saving appliances from Frigidaire, Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, Bosch, LG, Samsung, Electrolux, and more. Tired of ever-increasing cable rates? Check out Dish Network Satellite TV with over 190 channels, including local channels, just $29.99 a month for a whole year. Now get a free DVD player with all Dish Network activations this month. See store for details. See the full line of Sony, LG, and Samsung flat panel TVs at the lowest prices of the year. The area's oldest and most experienced appliance and electronics dealer is now in their 37th year of offering the great prices and personal attention that you deserve. Carlisle Electronics and Appliance Center, 1060 Harrisburg Pike, Route 11 in Carlisle. See their circulars in your local Sentinel newspaper and at carlisleelectronics.com.
This is a Radio PA News Update. Sallie Mae is planning to add 300 jobs in northeastern Pennsylvania over the next 2 years. The student loan giant has announced plans to invest about $5 million in its 133,000-square-foot loan servicing center at the Hanover Township Industrial Park in Luzerne County. Sallie Mae currently employs about 1,000 people at that location. The company says it will be hiring people for servicing, collections, and management positions. Monday marks the start of National Influenza Vaccination Week, and the state is reminding people it's not too late to get a shot, as Kathy Clark reports.
Flu activity has been sporadic so far in the state, but usually it picks up during the holiday season as people get together. The health department says there are indications that's happening. Secretary Michael Wolf says now's a good time to get a flu shot. You can call the department at 877-PA-HEALTH to find a local flu clinic.
Former U.S. Senator George Mitchell, brought in to monitor athletics at Penn State in the wake of the Jerry Sandusky scandal, says the school's football players get about the same medical care as other major programs. Mitchell released this fifth quarterly report Friday, saying there's no reason to think changing doctors who see players violated NCAA, Big Ten Conference, or Penn State rules. At Mitchell's recommendation, the NCAA in September announced Penn State will more quickly get back football scholarships suspended as a result of the Sandusky scandal. And it was 72 years ago today when the Japanese attacked the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and 92-year-old retired Major Henry Heim was there.
And I jumped in. I thought, now I'm safe. I look up the irrigation ditch, and there's about 6 or 8 other fellows in there, too. And then I raised my head up. There comes a Japanese plane, and he's straight from the irrigation ditch. Well, I had to get out of there, and I had to run. I understand later, 4 or 5 American bodies were found in there. That all of them didn't get out.
Heim of New Cumberland served in the Army Air Corps. I'm David Payne, and you're up to date from Radio PA.
Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. At 7 a.m., I shower. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to give Dad his medicine. At 6 a.m., I make his breakfast. At 7 a.m., I shower. I start laundry at 8. At 10, we go for a walk. Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers for advice, tips, and support. Together, let's help each other better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
In this season of giving, Chevrolet is giving more at H&H Chevrolet Cadillac of Shippensburg. I'm Mickey Nye. More selection with the Valley's biggest inventory with over 150 new vehicles available. There's something for everyone. More great world-class cars and trucks and more of the features you want and more savings that make it all possible. Maybe a new Chevy truck won't fit under the tree, but it'll haul a load of trees. And you could be driving one now with over $6,800 in savings. Why not treat your family or yourself to the versatility of Equinox for a low $199 a month, or the sporty economy of Cruise for just $159, or move up to the symbol of pure luxury in a new Cadillac CTS, Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Let H&H help you celebrate this grand season in grand style by giving the ultimate gift of a new car or truck. Take the year-end savings drive to H&H, a mile off of exit 29 off of ID1, Shippensburg. Call 1-888-532-2121 or check hhchev.com for lease details. And thank you.
Good morning. It is 8:11. It is 33 degrees. It's time now for a weekend appointment with attorney Karl Rominger. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Karl Rominger here answering your legal questions. 243-1200. If you have a legal question you want to get answered live on the air, and of course if you've been listening to this show for quite a while here on WIOO, you know, or maybe you don't know, we're now live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So 243-1200 or 697-4297. And the toll-free number is 866-532-9466. So queue up your legal questions, 243-1200 or 697-4297 or 866-532-9466. And, of course, you can post them on my Facebook page. It's Karl with a K, Rominger, Rominger. Or you can find my email on there as well, and we will answer them. Interesting thing in the legal news here. A New York State federal judge out of New York was criticized by Alito, the Supreme Court justice, in a case they refused to take, but noted that this judge, I think it's Bernard Vaughn, was requiring or suggesting that people appoint counsel and staff to class action suits that were minorities or women to work the lawsuits to help better represent the class, I guess on the theory that we white males can't adequately represent the class of plaintiffs if the class includes women and minorities. And in a case involving Sirius XM and somebody else, when the court refused to take it, Judge Alito issued an unusual 6-page statement criticizing this federal judge's desire to have everybody appoint a minority or a woman to this. He, of course, has fought back now and said publicly that he doesn't require it. He just suggests it. Let me explain how this works in my world. Judges suggest a lot of things and don't require a lot of things. But lawyers get stuck doing those things for one of two reasons. One is some judges, when they suggest something, really mean they're requiring it. Or even if they aren't, the lawyer doesn't want to find out if that's the case. You know, Judge, I know you've told me a lot of things and you've given me a lot of direction. I'm just going to ignore all of it and hope you still rule in my client's favor. In my experience as a lawyer, that wouldn't be best practice. Obviously, there are times when your client may take a principled stand, but you can imagine that businesses and other people fighting out litigation in court are not going to be too excited to have their lawyer taking stands if it could affect the outcome of the case itself. So the Supreme Court's taken it unusual, and they said it may call for further review. The judge claims that because he does it only in class action suits, which allow the judge to take into consideration any factors that are unique to the class, that this gives him the latitude to do that. Obviously, nobody's challenged it. And what's interesting is Supreme Courts, and we'll talk about this in 1 second here, 243-1200 is the talk line number, 697-4297, or 866-532-9466. If you have a legal question, hop in here. We'll answer it on the air. It's free, right? It's free advice for the moment. Now, back to this for a second. Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, for instance, regulates the lawyers. So they have supervisory authority over the lawyers, as the U.S. Supreme Court would have supervisory authority over the judges that are beneath it. So they may be able to raise the issue either as one of judicial ethics, but as for cases, the parties actually have to raise it. So if a party is not raising that issue and bringing it forward, then there's no ability of the court to act on it, again, unless they're going to go under their supervisory authority. So I thought that was an interesting one. Of course, the Supreme Court has also been taking up a bunch of other stuff right now, one including whether you can patent software, at least at what extent you can patent software. That's going to be big because obviously all these little machines we have run on software, as do all our big machines, and as a result, knowing how much you have to do or what you have to do to get a software patent is going to be important. And apparently there's a case laws in the flux. They're also going to revisit the death penalty for the mentally disabled. And as you may know, they're going to also take up the Obamacare mandate about having to provide birth control by employers for employees. And one of those cases actually is tangled up with Lancaster County. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. That's a Mennonite who doesn't want to be forced to provide the birth control, and we will see. Who have I got there? Kathy, you're on the air. How are you?
Hello. I have a question.
Yes.
I heard on the radio at one time that if a person was in like a place where he had a problem coping, like a mental place, he could eventually get his permit to buy a gun. Is that true?
You mean he could eventually get it?
Yeah, he cannot buy a gun at the moment,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know how many years is that
Well,
he's not allowed.
If you're saying because there was a mental health issue of some sort, like, for instance, they had to be
Yeah,
involuntarily...
he was suicidal or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain that. Under Pennsylvania law, once you're involuntarily committed, okay?
Yeah.
And if there's an involuntary commitment, I should say, you will lose your right under the Act and under federal law to go and purchase firearms. Now, there's two ways to lift that. One is to get it completely expunged. They really can only be expunged if they weren't done properly, which is possible quite often. The Mental Health and Procedure Act isn't followed strictly in all instances. And under those cases, you can simply expunge them, okay? On the other hand, if you were properly committed, there is a procedure under the law for a judge to restore your firearms rights by making a finding that you're no longer a danger to yourself or others. But that can be a little bit burdensome because obviously judges are not going to simply go, the government has to prove you're unfit. You're now presumptively unfit, and you need to come in and convince the judge that through treatment and where you are now in your life, you're no longer an immediate danger to yourself or others, and therefore fit to have a firearm again. Now, we also have told people historically on this that if you have a chance to be committed, like for instance, if you're at the hospital and they want to involuntarily commit you, if you voluntarily commit yourself, that does not create a prohibition. Okay.
Okay.
For initial evaluation. Now, if you get admitted, it can, but generally, signing yourself in is not a problem. The problem with that we're finding though is quite often while you're busy signing yourself in, somebody else is involuntarily signing you in as well. And once that paperwork gets processed, it doesn't matter whether you voluntarily signed yourself in after that. So sometimes if you're hemming and hawing, they like to get people to sign themselves in voluntarily because it makes for better treatment, right? I'm here on my own free will and I want to be checked out. But if you're not, you're hemming and hawing, they may sign you in anyhow. And so I get cases where somebody says, well, I signed in voluntarily and I don't understand this. And then we look and we see that, yeah, they signed involuntary at 8:40 in the evening, but the involuntary commitment was done at 8:30. So they were technically already committed. They just didn't know it yet. That answer your question?
Yes. So would he have to see a lawyer to do this?
Well, I mean, the answer is I go to a mechanic to get my car fixed for a reason, which is I don't really know how to take the engine apart and put it back together, let alone have the tools to get it out. And that kind of hearing, let me put it this way. A judge is not going to just simply let somebody come in and talk for 20 minutes and probably restore their rights. They're going to a pretty lengthy presentation. So I would bring in a psychologist or a psychiatrist who treats, who's willing to say the person's okay, which is probably the biggest hurdle you're going to have, and then bring in friends and family to say, hey, back in 87, he was a maniac, but in the last 20 years, we haven't had a single peep out of him, and here's why we don't have any more problems with him.
Yeah. Well, it's been like 20-some years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Is it a difficult procedure?
It's not a difficult procedure legally. To me, though, and if you came to see me or your friend came to see me or whoever came to see me, one of the first things I would do is send you to a evaluator because I really need an expert witness. I can say all the nice things I want about you, and you can talk about all the nice things about this person you want. and that person can say all the nice things they want, but a judge really is going to want to hear from a professional